Hello, I'm Janki and welcome back to my channel. And today is a very special video because we'll be doing something Money Heist inspired. So as you all know, Money Heist is all in vogue right now. The first part of fifth season came out and everyone's talking about it. And so I've been thinking of doing this video for a very long time. I know I say this every time, but really, this one was the one that I thought that I'll do specifically in September, and here I am. So in this video, I'll be recommending books to the Money Heist characters. All of these book recommendations will be the books that I feel that person, that character from Money Heist should read, and I'll also state in a sentence or two why. So yes, here we begin without any further ado. So the first character I'll be talking about is Tokyo. And for Tokyo, I'll be recommending the Poppy War series by R.F. Kuang. And I just see Tokyo instead of Rin every time I read that book. Not every time, but when I read that book, I pictured a girl very similar to Tokyo. And that's because in that book, Rin, our main character, she's an expert in making reckless decisions that are basically on impulse, and it just resonates so much with Tokyo's personality that I feel that is the book that I'll recommend to Tokyo. Coming on to our another character, that is Rio. Now, Rio's character is like a very soft spot of the whole team. Rio has gone through so much, that torture and everything. So the book that I recommend him is something very light and fluffy, so that he can take his mind off whatever brutal and coercive has happened to him. And so for that matter, I'm recommending him a rom-com, and that is The Beach Read by Emily Henry. I think that book will be a very easy, fluffy, happy, joyful read for him. And so yes, that is a book that I wish him to read. So that is why I recommend him that. Now coming on to another character, and that is Moscow. So Moscow is such a fatherly figure of this whole group. So and whatever he does, his occupation or whatever he did throughout that season and everything, I think he'll really enjoy Foundryside by Robert Jackson Bennett, because that book's magic system has to do a lot with metals and scribings and all, and I don't know for what reason, but I see Moscow enjoying that magic system way too much, because I'll just associate metals with him. I don't know why, but I think he will really enjoy that magic system which is in Foundryside. So yes, that is the book that I recommend to Moscow. Now coming on to Oslo. I'm editing and I just realized that I said Oslo, but I was referring to Helsinki. So please, whenever I say Oslo, you consider it as if I'm speaking about Helsinki. Thank you. Oslo is a big hulk of a man with a very soft heart that you get to know throughout these different seasons. And for that, this is a book that I'll recommend to everyone, but Oslo, I just want him to read that book, and that is The House in the Cerulean Sea by T.J. Klune. That book, because, first of all, it features a very cute LGBTQ relationship, and I wish Oslo has the tenderest moments in his lives that are shown in that book, and I just want him to have that sweet little time reading that book. So yes, that is the book that I recommend to him. Also, I'm not telling you all much about the book because these are pretty famous books, so I think I don't need to tell about it. So yes, another character, and one of my favorite, all of them are my favorites in some or the other ways, but this character in general is my favorite, and that is Nairobi. Nairobi. The scene that's frozen in my mind, which has Nairobi in it, is the moment when she hits Bolin in the head and says, "Let the matriarchy begin," or something like that. That was so good. I have that scene like frozen in my mind. I just replay that scene again and again, and I feel so much of power in that scene. I love it. So the book that I'll be recommending, Nairobi, is just what she is, like her personality, and that is The Queen of Tearling by Erika Johansson. So The Queen of Tearling represents this matriarchy wherein the newly throned queen is not a very like popular among the masses or anything like that. No one knows her. She's like an underdog, and when she begins ruling, like, she does wonders, and that is what makes me think about Nairobi. She is like, she's the queen of the gang, and like, I love her so much. So for her, I recommend a matriarchy, and that is the Queen of Tearling. Another character we have here is Stockholm. So Stockholm's character, I couldn't deduce much out of her character, but I think she'll enjoy reading The Bone Cries Moon by Catherine Purdy. Why I think she'll like this book is because in The Bone Cries Moon is basically enemies to lovers, and the main character, she's like falling for her kidnapper. So it's like a very similar situation with Stockholm too, and so I think she'll enjoy reading that. Coming on to another character that I love, and that's Lisbon. So I'm sure you're watching this video at your own risk. Lisbon is none other than Raquel, and that hair knot she does. So for Raquel, I think the book that I'll be recommending is From Blood and Ash by Jennifer L. Armentrout, and I think this can also be a spoiler for the book. So again, watch at your own risk. So I recommend her this book because again, it's very similar to her own situation. She, in the first season, she was like the negotiator between the gang and the state of Spain, but gradually she falls for Professor and she's made a part of the gang. The whole journey she follows with Professor, not knowing of his real identity. I think that's very, very similar to From Blood and Ash, and so that is the book I think she'll enjoy reading because relatability is a great factor when you read a book. So that is why I recommend that book to her. Now, another character and a sophisticated man is Berlin. Berlin is suffering from this delusion of grandeur wherein he has a very huge sense of self-respect, and his behavior, his mannerism is just like a gentleman. So the book that I'll be recommending him is like not too relatable to him, but I think the manner in which our main character is represented in that book, he'll kind of resonate with it, and that is A Gentleman in Moscow by Amar Tals. And that is because the main character there, the Count, what was the Count's name? I don't remember. His mannerisms, his etiquettes and everything, I think Berlin will enjoy reading that character's descriptions and what he does, his actions. So that is the book that I'll recommend to Berlin. Now coming on to another character, and that's Palermo. Palermo is a relatively new character. I couldn't get much about him, but see, this is the only book that I've recommended so far to which I don't have really the description that why do I recommend that book to him or her. So the book that I recommend to Palermo is A Little Life by Hania Yanagihara, and all I've said in many videos before that A Little Life is a book that I do not recommend to anyone or will not recommend to anyone, but here I make an exception because I see in Palermo a kind of sadness, a kind of grief, like that he tries to hide so often. So I think A Little Life for him will be a very, like, not a perfect read. It's kind of a book that I usually visualize when I think of Palermo's character. So that is the book that I recommend to him, and not just for all the grieving thing and sad things, but also because of that perfect relationships, the friendships, and so many good things that A Little Life has, which we often forget to mention just because it has many terrible, miserable things going on. And last but not the least, we have Professor. And I have no doubt that you guys already know that what book I'll be recommending to him, and that is none other than Six of Crows duology. How can you even doubt on that thing? Because Six of Crows, first of all, my favorite book of all time, one of my favorite books of all time. Again, I recommend it to Professor because the main character in that book, there are 6 main characters, but the mastermind of that group is Cash Breaker. Cash Breaker is the mastermind of this whole heist he plans. So you see the similarity, Professor, mastermind, Cash Breaker, mastermind. Also it has a gang which Cash created. Again, Money Heist has a gang that Professor created. Professor will have a great time seeing and processing how Cash Breaker's mind works and how he has planned and plotted the heist. So yes, that is definitely a book that I'll be recommending to him. That's all for this book recommendation to Money Heist characters. I know I have missed Denver because I really couldn't find a book that could match his personality, or he could find relatable or anything like that. I just couldn't. I brainstormed, but I couldn't find a book that I could recommend to him. So you guys, please tell me in the comment section that which book do you think would be a perfect read for Denver, so that this video is completed in real sense. But for now, that's all I have for this video. Thank you all for watching. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe and comment if you like my videos, and meet you next time.